Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. It's a beautiful spring day here in Cochrane. The sky's blue and the sun's shining and we haven't got much snow. We are getting snow again on Monday, but hey ho, for now it's beautiful. And today I'm going to show you the never-ending or everlasting card. I've made quite a few of these cards and every time I look at them, I think, oh, they're such a great card. They look so good. And every time I forget how to make them. It's one of those that just doesn't stick in my head at all. So this time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the tutorial with you. And I'm actually going to keep the pieces of card that I use as templates. Now, this is one that I made as a template once before. And it looks like it's the coffee cafe paper. So this would be the first side, and then all you do is fold. So you get lots of different sides, lots of places to decorate. You'll see I haven't decorated on this one. I haven't put any sentiments or anything. It's just literally one that I kept as a template. But it's such a great card. You can't stop yourself just folding it over and seeing how it goes. So let me show you how to make it. You start off with two pieces of card the same colour. Now on here, I think this was probably soft sky because that went with the coffee cafe papers. So I'm presuming it's soft sky. And you need two pieces of card the same colour. Now the card I actually want to make for the occasion this time is going to be in black. And black is horrendous for you to try and see. So I'm making it in two different colours, but I'm not putting these two different colours together on the card, so don't worry. You need two pieces of card, and you only need actually half a piece of our cardstock because these two pieces are 5.5 by 4.25. So they would go like that, and then you would have the same amount here at the bottom for another card. So 5.5 by 4.25, and I'll show you how we're going to score them. So on your first piece, let me just get my trimmer ready. Okay, we're going to hold it this way, so 5.5's at the top, and we're going to score at 1 3/8 on each side. So I'm putting this in, and remember, each of these little lines is a 16th, so the next biggest line is an 1/8. So we're going to go 1 1/8, 1 2/8, 1 3/8, and it's just the longest line before the half mark, if that makes sense. So 1 3/8, and let me move the trimmer part out of the way. We're going to score. We're going to turn the card round and do exactly the same. So we'll line it up at 1 3/8. And I'm sorry for those of you who work in centimetres. I don't tend to work in centimetres for card making, so I don't really know what the conversion is. Okay, and then we're going to turn it onto the 4.25 side at the top, and we're going to cut it at 2 1/8, so exactly in half. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, just to make it easier for you to see as well, is I'm going to label this. This is going to be number 1, this is going to be number 2. Okay, and I'm just going to put that to one side. Our other piece of 5.5 by 4.25 is going to be cut and scored slightly differently. So we're going to go onto the 4.25 side, and we're going to do our scoring at 1 1/16. And the 1/16 is the tiny weeny little mark after the 1 inch. So we're going to line it up there at 1/16, move my trimmer blade out and score. Turn the card round, and we're going to do exactly the same. Line it up at 1 and the first teeny weeny mark, which is the 16th, so 1 1/16. So we've got two score lines on here, and we're going to turn it round to the longest side and cut it at 2 3/4. Okay. Now, because we cut it that way, that's how I'm going to do my numbering. I'm going to call this piece number 3 and this piece number 4. And we don't need the trimmer again right now. So let's get rid of that and make a bit more space. Okay, so we've got 1 and 2, 3 and 4. And the next thing we're going to do is on the 3 and 4 pieces. And we're just going to put, you can use fast fuse, you can use tear and tape. Don't use the liquid glue because it's not quite right for this, and neither is the snail adhesive. It's not strong enough. You do need a stronger adhesive. So we've got these this way round with the score top and bottom, and we're just going to put 2 little lines of adhesive only in about 1 inch from the edge. Don't go all the way across. I'm going to do 2 at the bottom, the same. And then on this side, I'm going to put them at the opposite corner, if you see. Okay, so we've got glue here and here. Oops. Here and here. And on number 4 at the right hand side, here and here, and here and here. Okay. Now, you can't really tell from these pieces where this bottom piece and this top piece actually go. But I will show you how to line those up. Okay, so we're going to make it so that number 1 goes right on top of 3 and 4. So line 3 and 4 up so that they butt up together. And number 1 is going to go right at the top. So you're going to line up that top left corner. Make sure that this underneath piece stays together. I found that that's one of the worst things when making this card, is if the bottom piece moves, you don't get the right sort of folds or anything. Okay, so there's number 1. Now number 2 is easy enough to put on because the card's not going to move anywhere. Just line it up with those corners again. If you can see a tiny little bit of yellow through the middle, don't worry. Okay, so there's our pieces, and they haven't yet been folded. So what we're going to do is just fold this over. You can go over it with your bone folder, squash it with your finger, whatever works for you. And I'm going to do this other piece, fold this in, and just make sure that you get it nice and straight and the edges line up. Okay, so one of our folds will go that way, we know that already. This top one is going to go up, push it along and fold it. You can fold it before you glue it together, but I found that if I do that, it tends to move more when I'm trying to stick the number 1 and the number 2 piece on. Okay, so now we can fold it this way. We're going to be able to fold it that way. Oops, she says, having folded it the wrong way, got it in a pickle there. Okay, and then it's going to be able to fold out that way too. You can see it just keeps opening and opening. Okay, so that's the piece that I've got up to, but now I'm going to work on my black piece of card. But I hope you can see that that's the easiest way for anybody to see which is the bottom piece, which is the top piece, which piece you glue down. So put your 3 and 4 across the bottom, line up your number 1 and your number 2. You could actually make these marks on here because you're going to cover them with DSP or with card anyway. So if it helps you to have the numbers written on, just go for it, just do it. Okay, so I'm at the same stage here with my black piece, but it's very, very difficult to see the folds and everything on black. That's why I used the other card for you. Okay, so this is going to be my side 1. Okay, it's nothing to do with these numbers, it's just this is my front, this is what I'm calling side 1. And we need the DSP to go here and here, here and here, here and here. What you can do, just to double check, is to use your ruler and always just check how wide they are. I'm only going down by 1/8 of an inch as my border. But sometimes, depending on how the card is folded, you might find that you need to shim just a tiny bit, or you need to trim a tiny weeny bit off. So just be aware that you might have to sometimes make the paper a tiny, tiny bit smaller. And it might not be on all of the pieces. It might just be where one piece is folded and it's slightly different to the piece next to it. Okay, so my 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces are all the same size, and I've worked out on mine that they're going to be 2 inches across and 1 1/4. With 2 inches across and 1 1/4 here. So what I did was I haven't even told you which paper I'm using. I'm using the ends of my Broadway bound paper. Because you only need scraps for this card, I thought it was perfect for, I didn't want to cut into a new piece of paper or anything, so I'm just using my scraps. So I cut one piece that was just 2 inches wide all the way down, and then I cut, as I was going across, I cut 1 1/4 so that really the lines match up. See? So it doesn't look odd. If you've got a paper that's got no discernible pattern, doesn't have a one-way design, that's great. It makes it really easy. But silly old me, that's not what I picked. I picked something that had a line. Okay, let's fold that down. But it will look lovely when it's done. And you can see this 1/8 of an inch border, it's tiny. It's just a tiny, tiny border. So you don't get too much of the card underneath. You just get a tiny little highlight of it. Is that piece? Yeah. And I think the majority of this card is, the time-wise, is just cutting paper. Let's glue these ones on next. I know these will all match because I cut it from one sheet. And I know they're all the right size because I measured all my little sides before I started to do the tutorial. And for the recipient, this is a really fun card. I've sent it to nephews and nieces and their children, and it's been fun to watch them opening and folding and trying to work out how the mechanism goes. And of course you don't tell them that, so. And my next pieces, I started off just with one piece, and you see, and let me measure that. It was 2 5/8. So it's 2 5/8, and then this is just 2 inches across, so it was 4 inches. And I wanted it to match so that when it goes on here, again, it lines up nicely. Just make sure that, you know, your lines are all straight. And if you have a pattern, you haven't got like half a blue flower on one side and half a yellow flower on the other. I wanted mine just to be matchy-matchy. I've been trying to video this card all day, but it's actually a birthday card for my husband, and he's home at the moment. And I've been waiting for him to find some kind of a job that took him outside so that he couldn't see what I was doing. Anyway, now he's gone to look at the truck and gone to vacuum it outside, so that's just great for me. Okay, so there's our first page. These pieces were 1 1/4 by 2. These pieces were 2 by 2 5/8. Okay, so we open it, and this is our side number 2. So there we go. Oh, let me see. There's my side number 2 measurements. Oh, I think it's these ones. Yeah, that's it. So again, I've got just pieces of paper, just strips that I've then cut so that I know they sort of go together. These pieces were cut at 7/8 of an inch wide, and they are cut at 2 5/8 long. And they're just going to go on these little edges here. The other 2 pieces, so they're exactly the same, 7/8 wide by 2 5/8 long. And then I've chosen the balloon pictures for in the middle here. And again, it's a piece that does line up. So I just cut it 2 inches wide, and then the 2 5/8 long again. I think it actually is harder to explain how to do this than to make it. Because once you've got the measurements in your head and your cutting paper, then you think, oh, yeah, okay, I've got those sizes. But it's explaining it again. Or if you haven't made one for a little while, like me, then thinking, oh, which piece was next? Okay, so now we're going to go this way. And this is, oh, actually, I'm not going to do that one next. I'm going to do this one next, because that other one is the one where I have to do the stamping and everything. So I'm going to turn it to side number 4, where you've got the 2 folded pieces and it's like the little plus sign. Okay, just doesn't want to sit still. There we are. Okay, so again, I've got a long piece of paper. See how it fits on there? So that was 2 5/8 again, by 2 inches wide. And I don't have very much of this actual paper left. I don't know whether to order a new pack and whether I would actually use it before the new catalogue comes out in June. Whoops. Oh. Or whether to wait and see if there's something similar. But I have used it on so many projects. I've loved this card this year. Okay. Now our little pieces at the side, what were they cut at? Let me just think. These were 7/8 wide by 1 1/4. So let's just have this glued on. I've seen so many nice projects with this paper as well. I keep talking myself into getting it and then, oh, no, let's use up some of my other. But I'm such a paper hoarder. I'm not good at using it. Or I think, oh, well, I've opened that pack. Now I should get another pack just to replace it. By the time you actually watch this video, my husband will have seen his card. It will have been his birthday. So I'm hoping that he loves it and realises just how much hard work goes into making cards for him. Okay, so let's go back 1. There we go. Now you can see that this is the last piece, and what I've done is I've cut the party hat pieces that were on the back of the circles, and I cut it so that, although it was 7/8 by 1 1/4, I cut it so that the hat just fitted in. It doesn't matter which order you put them in. For this one, there's nothing to line up. I hear the vacuum still going outside, so he's still vacuuming the truck. I've still got a few minutes left. Okay. And then for the sentiment, what I did was, instead of cutting DSP for these 2 pieces, I cut just plain white card. And let me just find where I put these stamps. Oh, don't know where I put them. Maybe I put them away. Oh, here it is. It was the birthday cheer set that I used. So what I did was I cut the card just to the same size as the DSP has been cut, so 2 inches by 2 5/8, and I used this sentiment on the first side. Let's glue that on. You could, if you wanted, put DSP and then do another layer with the sentiment on, but I just wanted to have the white on this. Got little bits of glue stuck on my fingers, and that's what's sticking onto the paper now. Let's get that little eraser, get it off. Okay. And then on the second piece, I used the It's All About You sentiments. Let's glue that. Oh, I won't glue that on for a second. What I also then used were the die cuts, and I cut just one of the cupcake pieces out on black card, and then I cut it up because I'm going to put one of them at the bottom of here. Oh, I am sorry, I've got all that glue on, and I didn't know quite which one I wanted, so I'm just going to check. That's the nice little cupcake with the heart on. We've got one with a cherry on top. I'm not so keen just on that one, as I quite like this black border across. So we're either going to have cherry with a cupcake on top. Well, no, cherry with a cupcake on top. A cupcake with a cherry on top. Or we're going to have the one with a little heart. And I think I'm going to put the one with a little heart on. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on the black card. And I'm just going to line it up so that the bottom of the die cut's at the bottom of the white card. Stick it on there, and then just trim the overhang. Oops. Okay, let's move those ones out of the way. I might use one of the others on the envelope. And I don't know if I said already, but this fits in our normal size envelopes. So if you're sending it a long way, you might have to get extra postage, I'm not sure. I can see just a little bit of white at the bottom there. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to get my black marker pen, my Stampin' Right marker, and go across the bottom, just so that you can't see that white. I can't have had it stuck quite straight when I put the cupcake on and before I cut it out. There we are. Now you can't see that. If you wanted, you could colour in the little pieces of the cupcake, but I don't want to do that today. So let's pop that away, and there we go. That should be all of the sides. So here we go, look. Here's your never-ending, everlasting card. Okay. And it doesn't matter how many times you turn it, you just have to do it that once more to get the next layer. I like how that's worked out. I think my husband will like that too. I think he'll sit and play with that for a little while. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you'll give this a go. Try it first with the 2 different pieces of card, just so that you know how the card's formed and where the folds need to go and which pieces go on top, which pieces go underneath. And then this is the template I had from before, just with different pieces of DSP on, and decorate it however you want. So thanks so much for watching and for always taking the time to watch my videos, and for those of you who give a thumbs up and a share, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I love making my card videos, and I love to think that other people have had a go at something I've made. And just recently, one of my friends, Jane Scott, who is in Canada, she sent me a picture of the carousel card that she'd made. I'd made mine for my mum's 80th birthday, and she made hers into an Easter card for her mum, and that gave me such a thrill just seeing that somebody else had made something that I'd shown. So thank you, Jane, I really appreciated that. So thanks everybody, have a wonderful afternoon. Bye bye.